sick and tired of hearing things from uptight, short-sighted, narrow-minded hypocrites. All I want is the truth. Just give me some truth.
All right, everyone. Welcome to the Truth Only Show here on KCAA 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, 102.3 FM. We would like to welcome you into a new show, and we would like to remind you to go to trutholnyshow.com. On trutholnyshow.com, you can find our previous episodes. They're all available right there to be streamed live in the website, or you can download them, I believe. That's all at trutholnyshow.com, so send that to one of your friends and have them check out the show, see what they think about it, and bring in some more people on this movement here we got going. But now here's the host of the Truth Only Show, David Rodriguez.
Good morning, everyone. Great to have you here with us again on another episode of our show. As Michael said, the Truth Only Show, where we present you nothing but the truth. And I know that is one of the most important things. It is the most important things that you need to know about yourself. Before we get started, I want to give some special thanks to all of you, especially all you new listeners. We know we have many out there today. Thank you very much for tuning in with us. And but I also want to give thanks to the people that make this show possible. We have another engineer with us today. Thank you very much. His name is Joe Marmolejo. Okay, we have a lot of Joes here. Thank you very much, Joe.
Of course.
Great to have you here with us. And I want to give some thanks to our webmaster, Mr. Joel Strouser, and my co-host and producer, Michael. Okay, thank you all very much. For all you new listeners and even some of you older listeners, just to make it clear as to what we do talk about here, what we do talk about and teach here is human nature. As I said earlier, it's probably the most important thing that you can know about yourself. Think about it. Know thyself. The reason I say it's important, because the reason we struggle in life, the reason we have all these hardships and, financial, personal, relationships and all these things, is the reason we have the problems is because we don't really know ourselves. When you get to know your own self, things change. Lives change when you begin to understand these things about your own self. Okay, our topic today is a continuation of what I talked about last week. And what we talked about last week was really the difference between the intellect and thinking from the heart or soul. Now, I'm going to try to make that very simple, thinking from the heart and soul, as compared to using your intellect. First, I'm going to start out with the intellect, okay? I think it's very important that you do understand the intellect and how we all use it. And again, I want to say the intellect is very, very important, okay? The intellect serves a very important function in life. We do need it. The intellect is for analyzing and for building, for constructing, for coming up with something new, something different, analyzing, dissecting things going on. It's very important, okay? But the intellect is not your creative, really your creative part. That serves a different purpose. Now, just keep that in mind, what I'm talking about today, the intellect. As compared to thinking from the heart and soul. Okay, that is probably something that probably needs a little more explanation, because thinking from the heart and soul is the creative part of you, the creative part of your mind. Actually, when you learn and understand thinking from the heart and soul, That is what has been creating your experiences in life up to this point. So whatever has been going on in your life, the struggles, the difficulties and things have really been created by thinking from the heart and soul. I'm going to explain that a little bit more, but I just want to throw something at you. And remember, we're not talking about religion here. I just want to throw some very important facts about thinking from the heart and soul. You've heard before, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. I'm sure you've probably heard that before. Okay, well now we're gonna analyze that a little bit more. We're gonna take a little closer look at what that means. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. It's talking about a certain way of thinking, that all of us do. But I think the problem is we don't realize that thinking from the heart and soul is our creative part of us. That is the part where our creativity exists. And with your thinking from the heart and soul, I think the best way to understand it is this. You know, let's say when you're alone, or even while you're driving, let's say you're in your car, you're driving, and you're thinking about the issues of your life. You're thinking about problems. You're thinking about struggles, financial problems, or problems with relationships, and you're just thinking about them, okay? What you're doing really, when you're trying to understand the problems, the issues of your life, what you're really doing is using your intellect, okay? You're crossing back and forth. You're using your intellect to try to solve the problems that you have going on in your life. So what you're doing is you're thinking about the negative in your life and trying to remove it. You're trying to figure out a way to get rid of the negative things that you're experiencing, and you're trying to come up with a solution for it. You're trying to take the negative and turn it into a positive. So what we do a lot of times is we spend a lot of time analyzing the negative, or however you want to look at it, the bad, and trying to remove the bad so we can experience the good. Okay? So it even gets to the point to where we believe that we have to beat back the negative, beat back the problems, that we have to overcome them, that we have to fight them, that we have to resist them. So we spend a lot of time thinking about them. Well, the problem with that is that what I'm talking about here is your nature, your true nature. And your true nature is this, is that your mind is creative. Your mind will create whatever it focuses on. See, that's something that I think that most of us have never really been taught. So we live our lives analyzing the negative so we can beat it back and experience the good. All of us want to experience good. Everybody wants to experience good. There's no doubt about it. Everybody would love to experience more and more good. There's a lot of good in this life. A lot of good. Money, beautiful relationships, loving relationships, just great experiences all the way around. Having some peace and joy in life. All of us would want it. But our problem is that we're believing that we have to beat back the negative so we can experience the good. I know I might sound a little repetitive, but sometimes we need to hear something over and over until we can finally see the point. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. What you're doing when you're alone and thinking about your problems, you are thinking from the heart and creating more of it, more of the same. So I guess we can maybe look at it this way. If you're believing about yourself that you are limited with many things, let's say financial limitations. If you believe that you have to live a limited life, let's say for your job, maybe you have a job that doesn't pay very much. So you've already gotten yourself into a situation where you're limited financially. Okay? So don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about any fantasy here. That is something that you may be experiencing. But the belief about yourself is that you are limited. So you're basing your life on your past. What has to change is your belief about yourself. And don't get me wrong, I understand that probably many of you are thinking right now that that's very difficult to do. To change your belief about yourself when you're experiencing something. Well, I know this isn't easy. But you must understand what is going on here. That's what we're doing here. We're trying to get you to understand what is happening in your life. It's a belief system that you have developed throughout your life. That's all. But beliefs can be changed. You can change your belief about yourself. One way is to stop analyzing the negative and trying to beat it back so you can experience the good. That is using your intellect. Now, thinking from the heart is the whole secret to changing everything in your life. Thinking from the heart, the soul, which means this. When you're alone, instead of thinking about the bad going on in your life, the limitations, the negative, instead of thinking about that, think the good. And I mean think it even if you're not really experiencing it, but you can think it. You have the mind, you have the freedom to think the opposite of what you are thinking and believing now. You have the power to do that. You can imagine anything you want to in your life. That is the secret to thinking with the heart and creating brand new experiences. Anytime you're alone, begin to think the good as if you're already experiencing it. As if you are already experiencing it. See what you're doing now. Remember I said earlier that the human mind is creative? And the human mind creates whatever it focuses on? Is it beginning to make a little bit of sense? Focus on the good. Focus on abundance. Focus on everything that is good. Focus on beautiful relationships. Just do it. And like I said, it may not be easy, but it gets easier the more you do it. And you get much better at it. And the better you get at it, and the more you do it, eventually you're going to begin to see the change in your life. Your life will begin to change. You will begin to draw the good to yourself in life. And I'm not talking about any hocus pocus. I'm just telling you the truth about yourself. That is the way your mind works. Every human being that lives on this planet that has ever lived before or now in the present or in the future, it's the same for everyone. There is no difference between us. And I'm going to give you one simple way of trying to look at this whole thing. Try to look at it this way. And this is what we've been doing. I want you to pay attention to this. I'm giving you an analogy, something to make it clearer to you. Think about this. Imagine going to the movies. You're sitting there watching a movie that you do not like. Okay? You're watching a movie that you do not like, and you want to change it, and you run up to the screen and trying to do something to the screen to change the movie. Think about it. Are you addressing your attention in the wrong direction, on the wrong thing? Of course you are. You're looking at the wrong thing. You're trying to change the wrong thing. To run up to the screen and try to change what's on there is ridiculous. What do you have to change? You have to go to the room where they're running the film. You have to change the film. That's what's causing what you see on the screen. That's what I'm talking about in your life. You're trying to change what you see on the outside by trying to change the outside. That will never work. Because your mind is creative, it creates what it focuses on. That is exactly like trying to change the screen on the theater. At the theater, you can't change it. You have to go back what's causing. You have to go back to the cause of what you're seeing on the outside. And what you are seeing in your life on the outside is caused by what's going on in the inside. That's where the secret is. Change what's going on in the inside, and the outside is going to change. It, in reality, is that simple. It is that simple, and again, I'm going to repeat, I know that it is not easy. It's not easy to change 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years of habitual thinking in a certain way. I understand that. I understand that completely. I know because I've lived that life myself. I've lived the life of struggling financially with having poor relationships. I've had that problem already. I've already lived that. But see, when I began to learn about my own true nature, and I began to learn about my mind, that it's creative, that it creates what it focuses on, and I began to see the solution was within myself, and not by trying to fix what's outside of myself, not to change, not to try to fix the negative and turn it into a positive. No. When I learned that doesn't work. And I began to go within myself and begin to see myself. It wasn't easy, but I began to see my life as being perfect, beautiful, abundant. Money flows easily and effortlessly into my life. I began to see my bank account increase. I could see it. You can see it. You can put it in your mind. You can see your bank account in your mind if you want to. We have that kind of power. All of us do. Some of us are a little better at it than others. That's okay. But you can get good at it. You can begin to see your relationships as being perfect, beautiful, everything in your life. You can do it. We have the power of imagination. Do it. It will work for you. Stop using your intellect by trying to analyze the outside, the negative, and trying to make it a positive so you can experience the good. Stop it. It doesn't work. Just look around you. You see it all in the news. You see it in political leadership. They're all doing it. And how good is this world working? How's everything working out in this world? Do we still have the drug problems, the wars and killings and murders? Do we still have all that? That's why we have it. That's why it doesn't go away. We've all been used to thinking that way. It doesn't work. So forget about what's going on around you and you begin to work on yourself. Work on yourself. You can change your experience and then maybe you can help others do the same. Thank you very much for being here with us today on the Truth Only Show. When you can find us here at trutholnyshow.com and you can check out all of our episodes. And remember, you're listening to KCAA 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, or 106.5 FM. Don't go away. We'll be right back after a short break.
When I see her coming down the street, I get so shaky and I feel so weak. I tell my eyes, look the other way, but they don't seem to hear a word I say. And I go to pieces and I wanna hide. Go to pieces and I almost die every time my baby passes by. I tell my arms they'll hold someone new, another love that will be true. But they don't listen, they don't seem to care. They reach for her, but she's not there. And I go to pieces and I wanna hide. Go to pieces and I almost die every time my baby passes by. I remember what she said when she said goodbye, baby. We'll meet again soon, maybe. But until we do, all my best to you. I'm so lonely, think about her only. I go to places we used to go, but I know she'll never show. She hurt me so much inside. Now I hope she's satisfied. And I go to pieces and I wanna hide. Go to pieces and I almost die every time my baby passes by. Go to pieces and I cry every time my baby passes by.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Truth Only Show here on KCAA 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, 102.3 FM. I'm getting good at saying that really fast.
Yeah. Everything gets easier as you go.
Yeah, we're getting back. The song we just heard is by Peter and Gordon. That was called "I Go to Pieces." You remember that song from the?
Oh yeah, good song.
Yeah,
good song.
probably what, 65 or 67. I don't know, something like that.
Probably, I don't remember exactly.
Anyways, so I heard a few different ways of thinking mentioned in your talk, but I want to know what's the difference between them, because I heard several different things. I heard thinking with your intellect, I heard thinking with your heart, thinking with your soul.
Okay.
What is the difference? Are there all three of those different?
No. We're talking about two different types.
Two different types.
Well, because, one of them, intellect is pretty obvious, I think. The intellect, we're using it. We're using the intellect right now, to have our discussion.
Okay.
We're both conscious of what we're doing, and we're conscious of what we're doing, and we're talking, and we know we're on the radio, and so that's our intellect at work, which is very important. Okay. Now, heart and soul, the reason I use those two words, because I really don't know which way it would be easier for the listener to understand, but it's really the same. They're really the same thing, because that is our creative part of our thinking.
How are you supposed to know what you're thinking with.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do here on this show, trying to make it clear to distinguish the difference between the two. The intellect, I'll quickly go back and describe a little bit what I was saying, was the intellect analyzes and dissects, okay? It's conscious and analyzing and dissecting the, things, trying to figure something out. I mean, like for work, where I worked for many years, was I would read the blueprints and analyze and dissect what the architect was trying to accomplish. So then I'm figuring it out, using my intellect to figure out what he was wanting to do. So I use my intellect to build something, to put things together.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the heart and soul is different. The heart and soul is really a different way of thinking. It is the creative part of your mind.
I get that, but
It's not.
what does that look like?
Okay.
How are you supposed to know if you're doing that?
Well, when that's why I mentioned when you're alone, for example, and you're analyzing your life, you're looking at the negative things going on in your life, okay? That in a sense, you're using your intellect because you're analyzing. You see the negative going on in your life, and you're trying to get rid of it. You're trying to overcome the negative to create the positive, right? To get rid of the bad, and so you can experience the good. And many of us do that, okay? But what we're doing...
You're talking about like when someone says, well, I have this problem, so I need to figure out a way to solve it.
To solve it.
And you're kind of like...
That's the intellect, okay? You're using your intellect to try to solve the issues of your life.
Trying to outthink all your problems.
Right. Yes, that's another way. You're trying to outthink your problems, okay? But your mind is creative, okay? So your mind is going to create both. You will continue to create more negative, and you will experience some good, but you're going to be experiencing bad and good and bad and good. And then we wonder why. We look back at our lives and we think back and we say, God, if I would only done this different or done that different, I would have been having this would be better and that would be better. Everybody does that. The reason people do that is because you're using your intellect to try to solve the issues of your life.
I understand that part, but what does the other part look like?
The other part...
How do you do it?
Okay. This is how you do it. Remember, the mind is creative. Okay. So instead of analyzing your life, the negative, and trying to beat it back, just think the good. Just imagine your life the way you want it. Just imagine it. Just see the good and speak it. And say it like if it already exists. Your life is abundant. Everything is perfect in your life. Your relationships are beautiful. Everything works in your favor. All things are good in your life. Begin to think that way. That is thinking from the heart. That is thinking from the soul. That is your creative part. Now you're not creating negative and positive anymore. Now you're just creating the positive. Now you're just creating the good. Because you're not thinking the negative anymore. You're just thinking the good, the positive, and imagining it. That's thinking from the heart and soul. Now that is what you will begin to experience eventually. That is all you will begin to experience. Sure, things are going to happen to you, no doubt about it.
Let's take it to like a real world example then. Because what if let's say someone who has a car payment and they struggle to pay it every single month. Every month they do that thing where they're trying to figure out, well, if I shift this money from over there and then I save over here, and maybe if I do this extra little side job or work overtime, then I'll probably have enough. And they kind of have to do that every single month. And they're using that intellect.
You just said something right there. I have to stop you.
Okay.
You said they kind of have to do that every month. No, they don't have to do that every month.
Well, that's why I'm asking the example.
I know. but you said they have to. See, that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Most people that are listening to me right now are probably thinking exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, I have to because I only make this amount of money.
Yeah.
You know, I'm limited. My job only pays me this much. I know many of you are listening to that. And you just have to kind of just, I don't even want to say you have to step out into faith. I don't even want to say that because you've heard that all your life. I don't even want to say it. But what I'm going to say to you so you can understand is that your mind is creative. It creates what it focuses on. So if you're focusing on your limitation and trying to figure out a way to live an abundant life, that's a contradictory. You're contradicting yourself. You're focusing on the negative, trying to create positive. So you're experiencing both. Now,
So
I don't know much about math,
Mm-hmm.
but what happens when you put a negative against a positive? What happens? Don't they neutralize each
I
other?
don't remember what they do.
Don't they neutralize each other? I don't know. Somebody out there that knows math, maybe.
Well, yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong giving that
If you have
example.
a -5 and a +5, it just ends up with 0.
Exactly my point. You end up with 0, nothing. Nothing good happens from it. Okay, you just gave a perfect example. If you have a -5 and a +5, forget the -5 and just go to the +5. And now you have +5. Drop the -5 and just go to the +5. Perfect example, Michael, of what we're talking about here. Because you're going to create, just drop the 5, the -5, get rid of it, and just go to the +5.
And then -5 being thinking, this sucks. I can't ever afford to pay my car payment.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is begin to think abundance. And I'm serious.
So let's take it
you
to that
can
one
actually
specific
see I am
example. But I mean, like,
that
what should
person,
they do
that
right
person needs to stop focusing on that. Of course, if you have to you got to get up and go to work, okay? I'm not telling you forget about your job. You still have to get up and go to work, okay? Just the same. That doesn't change, okay? Right now, that doesn't change. But you can, I don't care if you're experiencing that, you still can, in your mind, imagine your bank account growing every week, just growing. Imagine if you have $50 in there, imagine it as being 500. And then imagine it as being 1,000. Just imagine it every chance you get and believe that it's there. And imagine it as being 500, then 1,000. Just keep imagining it more and more and more. And that is your creative process. That's the mind creating what it focuses on. Eventually, things are going to begin to happen. Brand new ideas for you to make more money will come into your mind through intuition, or somebody will come into your life that will present a different opportunity. Something is going to happen to you. I can't tell you what is going to happen to you. All I know is what happened to me. Okay?
Which is what?
Just different things started coming to me. Different things that I had no clue that were ever going to come to me.
Like opportunities?
Opportunities. Oh, yeah. Many opportunities just started coming from different places that I could have never thought of. For all those years that I was struggling financially, I would have never thought of it on my own because I tried and tried and tried and I couldn't come up with anything. So when I started practicing these principles, these are universal principles. They're universal laws. They just exist. They're laws that exist just like gravity exists. You can't change gravity. Just like electricity exists, you can't change electricity. You got to learn how it works and just go with it. That's all. And this is a law. It's a law of mind. That's the way it works. That's the way life responds to thoughts. It's all through Scripture. It is done unto you as you believe. Well, if you know, once I understood that, I said, I'm believing about myself that I'm negative and that I'm broke and that I'm struggling in my relationships. That was what I believed about myself, just like many of you are believing right now. What I did is I got to work and began to change the belief about myself. That's all.
See, but those beliefs about themselves, those are really deep for people. They're really deep,
that's
dug in.
Exactly.
They've been thinking that for years. They've been feeling that way for years.
Okay, let me tell you, I was deep into it for about 55 years. So I'm sure there's about 55 years of those beliefs.
Yeah.
Okay, are they deep? Yes, they're very deep.
How long?
That's I'm giving you the only thing that's going to change your life. There is no magic. It's just understanding the laws of mind, the laws of the universe, and the way thoughts work and life responds to thoughts.
How long would you say, like how many, I'm imagining years, did it take for when you started to think of your self-image, did it start to go from negative to positive?
I think it took,
whereas like the first thought you thought was a positive thought instead of a negative thought.
Well, no, positive thoughts. I started to, I think didn't take long to start thinking a little more positive, a little more, okay?
Yeah.
It might have taken, with some serious work, it might have taken a couple weeks till I started
getting some
results of my thinking. Very slow results. Okay, but I think it must have taken a few months when I began to see a physical change, financial change. But I know within 6 to 8 months, I was really seeing some changes in my financial situation. I think it took about 6 to 8 months to realize that I wasn't broke all the time now. It must have taken 6 to 8 months. It's a transition. You don't know. It's not like magic from one day to the other. No, it's just a very slight transition. But I know within a year to 2 years, things were a lot different. Everything began to change. Opportunities started coming. And then after several years, never experiencing being broke again, ever. Ever. Never being broke and never even coming close to being broke again. Never. And now, just like I've always said, money flows easily and effortlessly, and it just continues to flow easily and effortlessly, and the bank account continues to grow. That's all there is to it.
Real quick, we only have a couple minutes here, but going back to the person who can't afford their car bill every month.
Yeah.
So let's say they start thinking that way. They do it today.
Yeah.
And they think, I can't afford this. I have enough money. I always have enough money to pay my bills.
It's a great start.
And what do they do after that? After today? What do they do in the meantime? Do they stop trying to figure out how to pay them, or?
Basically, yes. Not completely, but basically give up. Start trying to analyze, because as long as you do that,
and then we'll
as long as you do that, you're going back to the intellect, you're going back to the negative and the positive, and you're going to continue the same way forever.
But I think we need a little more explanation on that one. Let's take another quick break, and we'll be back to discuss that topic.
Please lock me away, and don't allow the day here inside where I hide with my loneliness. I don't care what they say, I won't stay in a world without love. Birds sing out of tune, and rain clouds hide the moon. I'm okay, here I'll stay with my loneliness. I don't care what they say, I won't stay in a world without love. So I wait, and in a while I will see my true love smile. She may come, I know not when. When she does, I'll know. So baby, until then, lock me away, and don't allow the day here inside where I hide with my loneliness. I don't care what they say, I won't stay in a world without love. So I wait, and in a while I will see my true love smile. She may come, I know not when. When she does, I'll know. So baby, until then, lock me away, and don't allow the day here inside, where I hide with my loneliness. I don't care what they say, I won't stay in a world without love. I don't care what they say, I won't stay in a world without love.
Trust. Remember that word, trust.
That's what I wanted to bring up. But so we're back. That song was called A World Without Love by Peter and Gordon as well. That was written by Paul McCartney, I recently found out. And it totally sounds like a Paul McCartney song. We're back. And when we left, I was asking you, okay, somebody has that problem. They can't pay their bill every month. They start shifting their thoughts. Or today, they take action and they say to themselves, I always have enough money to pay my car bill.
Mm-hmm.
I always do. They start thinking that today. But does that mean, but they still are kind of in the same spot that they were last month, where they need to make some moves to pay this bill? What do they do in the meantime before the I always have enough takes in effect?
Well,
play that song over again.
Yeah, we'll play the song
No,
again.
what do you do? What do you do in the meantime?
Well, here, let's put it this way. Let's say if the person that you're talking about is in a situation where he doesn't even make enough to pay his bill. Okay,
Yeah.
just face reality. That's all. That's at the time you don't have enough to pay the car payment. You don't make enough. Okay, so don't fight it. You got yourself in a bad situation. We've all been in bad situations.
Get out of it.
Okay, so just whatever you have to do. The most important thing is, remember, you are always free to think what you want. I don't care what's going on in your life. It doesn't matter. If you've got yourself into a problem that you can't solve financially because your job doesn't, you should have never bought it in the first place, okay? So don't worry about it. You will change your life. You will turn it all around when you begin to do what we're talking about here. So just be patient and go to work. Focus on the most important thing at the moment. Just like I said earlier, you're out. What you're really trying to do, you're trying to change the movie by going out and messing with the screen. You're trying to change what is outside of you. You can never change what is outside of you by focusing what's on outside of you. You have to go within yourself to change what's outside of you, just like the movie theater. That's why I gave that example. So the most important thing to do is change your thoughts.
Okay. So you're saying change your thoughts so an opportunity that may arise is maybe you end up selling that car.
If you have to, yes.
Yeah,
If you have to do that,
yeah.
okay? It's only, you know how I think of cars, really?
What?
They're just a big pile of metal and rubber. Are they more important than your own personal life?
Yeah.
No, a big pile of metal and rubber. You mean it's gonna drive my whole life? It's gonna determine everything I do because of my car?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. A car's you just replace it with another one. That's all. So you're making too much of your car. If you got yourself in a bad situation and if you have to let it go, let it go.
Yeah.
Let all those physical things go, because in time when you change the way you think, the way you believe about yourself, the material world is going to change for you too, and it's going to be much better for you. Life will begin to get more comfortable, more peaceful. Everything will, you will begin to take control of all of those things in your life, but you must do the work of changing the way you think and believe about yourself. Let me tell you a story that I just heard the other day. And again, I'm going to remind you, regardless of what you think of the person, and forget about what the person does for a living, I just want you to notice what the person thinks about himself. I was listening to an interview with Floyd Mayweather. You know who he is, right? And forget about whether you like him or don't like him or any of it. Forget about what he does, that he's a professional fighter. Forget that for a moment. I just want you to think about this, what he believes about himself. And we're only talking about financial, because I'm not even going to go into anything else about his personal life. I have no need to. Think about what he thinks and believes about himself. You know he's made more money probably than any other athlete. In other words, he made it in a very short time, probably with one fight, right? Okay, but he calls himself Money Mayweather. I want you to think about what we're talking about here. He was asked in an interview, in your next fight, because he's thinking of fighting a UFC fight, which, again, forget about the UFC fight, okay? Forget what's going on. I want you to think about the belief system. They asked him, oh, so in this, are you going to go through with this UFC fight? And he said, yes, I think I am, yes, for sure. And they asked him, well, how much money are you going to make now? 100 million? 200 million? $500 million? How much are you going to make? And he paused for a second, and you know what his answer was? His answer was, well, I'm Floyd Mayweather, so maybe I will make that much. But just think about his belief system about himself. He even said, I'm Floyd Mayweather. What he was saying is, within his mind, it's a possibility. How many of you can even begin to think? How many of you, going back to this guy struggling to make a car payment, what's your belief about yourself? Think about it. It's only a belief system that's creating the $100 million or $150 million that he made that once. It's only his belief system about himself. There's other fighters that are, in my opinion, just as great, if not greater than him. They're not doing it. Why? Because I don't think they have the belief system. That's it. They've never developed the belief system that he has. He even calls himself Money Mayweather. What are you calling yourself? Broke Bob? Broke Tom? Broke Fred? Is that what you're calling yourself? Think about it. That's what you will continue to create for the rest of your life. I hate to tell you, but sometimes truth hurts, but sometimes it's got to hurt.
I think there's a lot of things that go along with that kind of thinking. A lot of things that it's not just the thing you have to change is I make a lot of money. That's not the only thing. No. There's also another aspect where he thinks that he deserves that money.
Of course.
Because he's Floyd Mayweather. He believes that he is worth that much.
He developed that belief system.
So that's another thing that people, you may need to work on, is that what do you feel like you deserve? What do you feel like you're worth?
Exactly.
So you need to raise your self-worth along the way.
Exactly. That's, I mean, on this show, we're giving you all the advice, all the knowledge that you can transform anything in your life. And I don't care how old you are. I don't care if you're in your teens, you're in your 20s, your 30s, your 70s. Actually, we have some people in their 80s, and they're transforming still things in their life, and they're in their 80s. And you know who you are. So that's what we're doing, and we're trying to simplify. We're trying to give it to you the simplest way that we can give this to you, these principles of the universe, and they are real. They are laws of the universe, like gravity, like electricity. They are just as perfect. And we're giving you perfect laws.
The business that I am of playing music for people, it is a contracting business. I mean, I'm getting contracted to play a party or something like that. And there is something to that, like going back to what you're worth.
Exactly.
Because there's different markets where, like Hispanic parties for Mexican people, they have a party. They are accustomed to paying like $350 for an hour or $400 for an hour, which is a significant amount more than I charge for my own band. But that's just, again, a way of thinking. Is like, obviously for their people in playing that circuit of music, they think that that's what they deserve and that's what they get.
And unto you as you believe.
And me, I'm playing in a different circuit where obviously
everybody believes
the bars
differently.
And stuff have been somewhere in the subconscious of everybody. It's gone down. The payments have gone down, and I think I think that's the one way to bring it back up, is to start thinking, no, this is what we deserve to be getting, and not feel like, oh, I got a little bit more. It's like, yes, I pulled one off. No, but think of like, no, this is what I should be getting paid. And I think another thing that you said right before we came back is the trust. And you have to think that, yeah, I do deserve that, but you also have to think that I trust that eventually I'm going to get there, because, of course, you got to hold that trust while you're paying your dues, because everyone's got to pay their dues.
Right. You got to pay your dues. You got to do the work. But remember, not only is it about you making more money, but you have to know that you're going to be worth. You got to bring value to the owner of the place, so you know you're going to draw people for him, so he can make a good living, and then he'll want you more and more. That's a fact, and you can believe that you can draw hundreds of people.
You got to deserve it, because you actually are that good.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Because then you'll look like a fool, because I'm sure you've all met people that think they're worth a lot, but they really aren't worth nothing. That's pretty normal. But anyways, that's probably all the time we have today. We're actually only a couple minutes left. But we'd like to remind everyone to go to truthonlyshow.com. And on truthonlyshow.com, you can find all of our previous episodes and an email and ways to contact us. So go there, truthonlyshow.com. Send someone else there. Have them learn about the show.
Okay, and Michael said something about trust, and I'm going to next week we're going to talk about trust. We're going to we're going to get you to understand, see how much trust you really have. I'm going to give you a challenge to see how much trust you really have.
I like that.
Okay? So be with us next week, and I want to remind you, if anybody you know that has a fast heartbeat, slow heartbeat, irregular heartbeat, any types of sparing dizziness or anything like that, I highly recommend the brilliant Dr. Duong. His number is 877-773-8664. 877-773-8664. Highly recommended electrophysiologist. And I also want to remind you, you're listening to the David Paul Band, one of their originals. I recommend you go to davidpaulmusic.com. Check out the calendar for a fantastic night of entertainment. You will not be disappointed.
And you can check out my band, the Bell City Players, at thebellcityplayers.com.
Exactly. Okay, we'll see you next week, and have a great week. We'll be back next week with the topic of trust.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.